2 years ago, I was sitting at my kitchen table staring at a pile of stuff I had just bought during a quick trip to Target. There were candles I didn't need, a throw pillow to replace a perfectly fine one, and a kitchen gadget still in the box that looked remarkably like the last gadget I bought and never opened. My credit card statement showed $4,100 in charges for that month alone. My savings account? It held exactly $812. I was making $63,000 a year and had been earning over $50,000 for more than 6 years. Yet I had essentially nothing to show for it. It was the classic American cycle: earn, spend, and hope there is something left over to save. But as anyone living in 2026 knows, hoping is not a financial strategy. Expenses expand to fill whatever space you make for them. And in a world of one-click ordering and tap-to-pay, that space is infinite. That same week, I stumbled upon a century-old budgeting system from Japan called Kakeibo. At first, it sounded almost insulting. In an era of sophisticated AI-driven banking apps and automated tracking, someone was suggesting that the secret to wealth was a notebook and a pen. But then I looked at the data. Japan's cultural relationship with money is the mirror opposite of America's. In the US, we celebrate spending. Wealth is performed and posted. In Japan, wealth is often hidden, and financial restraint is a deeply respected social value known as tsutsumashi, being modestly reserved. I decided to run an experiment. I didn't change my income, I didn't start a side hustle, and I didn't cancel every single joy in my life. I simply changed the operating system of my brain using Kakeibo. In 12 months, I went from $800 in savings to over $19,000 on the exact same salary. Today, I'm going to show you the mechanics of this system and why the physical act of writing down your spending is the only way to beat the predatory algorithms of the modern economy. The foundation of this system was laid in 1904 by Hani Motoko, Japan's first female journalist. She designed it as a tool for housewives to take control of family finances at a time when women had almost no financial autonomy. The idea is brutally simple, but psychologically profound. At the beginning of every month, you sit down and answer 4 handwritten questions. 1. How much money is coming in? 2. How much do I need for fixed expenses? 3. How much do I want to save? 4. How much do I have left to spend? This is the first major departure from American budgeting. Most Americans save what is left after spending. Kakeibo forces you to decide what you will save before you spend a single cent. In Japan, this habit of saving first is called Choken. It breaks Parkinson's law, the idea that spending expands to fill income, by reducing your available spending money on day one. But the real magic happens in the daily tracking. Kakeibo doesn't use 15 complicated categories. It uses 4: needs, wants, culture, and unexpected. Every time you buy something, you have to look at your notebook and make a judgment call. Is that $42 DoorDash order a need? No, it's a want. Is that $20 online course a want? Maybe. Or maybe it's culture, the category dedicated to personal growth and experiences. The reason this works better than any app on your phone is a concept behavioral psychologists call cognitive friction. Our modern economy is obsessed with removing friction. Frictionless spending, tap-to-pay, autofill credit cards, one-click checkout is the reason the average American underestimates their subscription costs by $133 a month and their impulse spending by nearly $300. When you use an app that automatically categorizes your spending, your brain stays asleep. You are a passive observer of your own financial ruin. But when your hand has to physically write target, $73, wants, your brain has to process that decision twice, once when you make it and once when you record it. Writing introduces intentionality. It forces a wake-up call that no algorithm can provide. Practitioners claim Kakeibo can reduce unnecessary spending by up to 35%. In my first month, I hit 22%. That was over $1,100 saved just by using a $3 notebook. But as I went deeper into the Japanese way of money, I realized that Kakeibo was just the gateway. Underneath the ledger was a much more powerful philosophy that challenges the very core of how we live in the West. It's a concept that turns waste into a visceral, physical pain, and once you feel it, you can never go back to mindless consumption. This transition into intentionality leads directly to the second pillar of the Japanese money philosophy, Mottainai. This concept has no direct English translation, which is precisely why most Americans have never encountered its power. Mottainai is not just a practice. It is an emotional response of deep regret and discomfort that arises when a useful resource, be it food, time, or money, is wasted or undervalued. In Japanese culture, wasting a resource is considered almost morally wrong. Contrast this with the modern American consumer economy, where waste is often structurally embedded into our daily lives. The USDA estimates that American households waste roughly 30% of the food they buy, which translates to approximately $2,100 per household per year thrown directly into the garbage. When I applied Mottainai to my own life, I started by photographing everything I threw away from my fridge for 1 week. The visualization of half-used bags of spinach and expired yogurt was a shock to my system. By meal planning around what I already had and freezing leftovers immediately, my grocery spending dropped by nearly 30% within 3 months. I wasn't eating less, I was simply respecting the resource enough not to waste it. This philosophy extends to the objects we own through the tradition of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold lacquer. Instead of being discarded, the repair becomes part of the object's beauty, signaling that something slightly worn still has immense value. In 2026, we are trained to reach for the replacement the moment a newer version exists, but Mottainai teaches us to see the value in what still works. The third pillar is Hara Hachi Bu, a principle from Confucian teaching that instructs practitioners to eat until they are only 80% full. While originally about health and longevity in Okinawa, its financial implications are profound when translated into a philosophy of enough. It means you do not fill your life to 100% capacity. You deliberately leave room in your budget, your closet, and your schedule. That remaining 20% isn't deprivation, it is margin. And margin is exactly where wealth lives. In practical terms, applying Hara Hachi Bu to your finances means treating 80% of your income as your absolute ceiling. If you earn $4,200 a month after taxes, you live as though you only earn $3,360. The remaining $840 flows to savings and investments automatically. As of early 2026, the U.S. personal savings rate sat at a fragile 4%. The 16-point gap between the American average and the 20% target of Hara Hachi Bu is the mathematical difference between retiring in a state of permanent anxiety or retiring with a fortress of security. On a 60,000 salary, this $201.47 million compared to just $293,000 at a 4% rate. This isn't just about the math. It is a form of self-respect. By practicing Hara Hachi Bu, you're telling your future self that you respected them enough to leave resources available for tomorrow instead of consuming everything today. Finally, the Japanese approach relies on kaizen, or continuous small improvement. Instead of attempting a dramatic, overwhelming financial overhaul that triggers the brain's amygdala to perceive change as a threat, kaizen focuses on 1% improvements. You don't slash your budget by 50% overnight. You reduce dining out by 10% this month and increase your retirement contribution by 1% the next. These tiny shifts fly under the fear radar of your brain, accumulating unnoticed until you look up a year later and realize your entire financial trajectory has shifted. Beyond the mechanics of budgets and savings rates, the Japanese approach to money addresses the deepest question of all. What is the money actually for? This is where the concept of Ikigai comes into play. While often marketed in the West as a career-finding tool, in Japan, Ikigai is simply your reason for living, the purpose that gives structure and meaning to your daily existence. When you apply Ikigai to your finances, it transforms your relationship with every dollar you earn. Most Americans accumulate money without a clear purpose or spend it without any real intention. They save because they feel they should, or spend because an advertisement was convincing. There is no guiding philosophy underneath the behavior. But when you identify your Ikigai, you no longer need willpower to stop overspending. If your purpose is to be present for your children's lives without stress, or to build a creative studio, or to achieve a specific level of freedom, then every unnecessary purchase stops looking like a treat and starts looking like an obstacle to your reason for being. The impulse buy doesn't just feel expensive, it feels irrelevant. To protect this purpose from the constant noise of the consumer economy, the Japanese rely on the aesthetic and philosophical concept of Wabi-sabi. This is the appreciation of things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. It is the beauty found in a wooden table with scratches that tell a story, or a device that is a few years old but still functions perfectly. In the West, imperfection is used as a reason to replace. A scratch on a phone screen or a slightly flattened couch cushion becomes an excuse to browse a catalog. The consumer economy depends on your dissatisfaction with things that still work. Wabi-sabi is the ultimate antidote to this trap because it invites you to find satisfaction in what you already have. The financial impact of this mindset shift is staggering. Americans spend roughly $9,500 a year on categories driven almost entirely by aesthetic dissatisfaction, such as fast fashion, home upgrades, and the latest consumer electronics. If Wabi-sabi reduced that spending by even 25%, a household would save over $2,000 a year. Invested at 8% over 25 years, that single philosophical shift is worth roughly $183,000. Finally, once a year, the Japanese practice uji, a tradition of a deep physical and mental clean to enter the new year with clarity. Applied to money, uji is your annual financial reset. This is the moment you perform a complete audit of your financial life. You review every subscription, negotiate every bill, and realign your investment allocations with your goals. Most people set up systems and never look back, allowing vampire costs to drain their accounts for years. An annual uji can easily recover thousands of dollars in forgotten charges. So, how do you start your own journey to quiet wealth today? We follow a specific 4-step Kakeibo protocol. Step 1. Get a physical notebook and a pen. Do not use an app. You need the cognitive friction of handwriting to force your brain to process your decisions. Step 2. At the start of the month, answer 4 questions. How much money is coming in? How much do I need for fixed expenses? How much do I want to save? And finally, how much do I have left to spend? This forces you to practice Choken, saving first rather than hoping there is money left at the end of the month. Step 3. Sort every purchase into 4 simple buckets: needs, wants, culture, and unexpected. Every time you write down a purchase, ask yourself, is this a need or is it a want? Is this purchase serving my Ikigai? Step 4. Perform the monthly hansei. At the end of the month, sit with your notebook and ask, did I meet my goal? What went well? What will I improve? This honest self-reflection is the mechanism that allows all your other financial habits to compound. The woman I was 2 years ago, surrounded by things I didn't need and carrying debt that made my stomach hurt, didn't need more income. I needed a different philosophy. I needed to learn that wealth isn't built by earning more, but by understanding more. Wealth is the silence of a life without financial noise. It is the respect you show your future self by leaving resources for tomorrow instead of consuming everything today. Japan figured this out a century ago, and the results are still undeniable. You don't need a bigger paycheck to start. You just need a notebook, a pen, and the willingness to pay attention. If this perspective on the Japanese way of money changed how you see your next purchase, hit that subscribe button. We are breaking down the hidden mechanics of wealth every week so you can stop being a consumer and start being a scientist of your own future. I will see you in the next one.